Welcome to another episode of the Chicks on the Right podcast. You guys, it's our favorite guest. He hardly even needs an introduction at this point. You've seen him on CNN. You now are listening to him on the radio. He's got a new book out that we're going to talk about. It is our BFF, Scott Jennings.
I have to purr. Okay.
Thank you so much. It is always an honor to hear your voices, which I hear most every day because I listen to your amazing show and podcast.
Well, that's so nice.
And your clips and all the things you all do. So congratulations on your huge following, and it's an honor to be with you today.
Congratulations on your book and on the new show and everything that's going on in your life. Just so thrilled for you. First of all, you should tell us a little bit about the book. Let's talk about the book first.
Yes, glad to do that. I pitched the president on a book about roughly the first 100 days of his administration in February, and he agreed to help me out with it. And so I've been working on it, and the final version is just about to go into the publisher. It's called A Revolution of Common Sense, and it will be published on November the 18th. I had the idea for the title when I heard the president say it in his inaugural address there in the Capitol Rotunda. And so it's a book about some of the decisions that he made and the issues that came up early on in the administration that I thought were, sort of the examples of where he was on the side of common sense and, therefore his opposition was on the side of uncommon nonsense, given their reflexive opposition to everything that he does. I did spend a little time with the president. I interviewed several people, interviewed Elon, which is interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
But anyway, it comes out in November, and I started writing it about the first 100 days. I was able to get in some stuff that happened after that, but it's been a hard work, but it's almost done.
So do you
feel like it's like every single day that passes, you're like, dang it, I got to add another chapter.
Yeah. Yes, I originally thought it would be easy to write a book about a topic while it was going on, and that turned out to be the exact opposite. I feel like I've written the book 5 times. So it was hard because he put so many balls in the air and had so many issues going at once, and things were happening, and cases were being decided in the courts and decisions were being made, and so it changed a lot over time. And then of course, I thought one of the dominant players of the first 100 days was Elon Musk. He got a lot of coverage. It was a big deal. And then, of course, right at the end of the 100 days, a little beyond that, he, got bent out of shape and left the White House. So I had to sort of address that later in the Elon chapter about Doge. So it was hard to do while it was going on. So that was a lesson learned. But it was fun to do. Not only is it about some of the interviews I did, but also just from my perch at CNN, analyzing this stuff every day, I sort of had, I think, a unique viewpoint about how official Washington, the media, and the Democrats were absorbing everything Trump was overwhelming them with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I was going to ask, if you had to address the whole Elon Trump thing, you answered that question for me. But then also, who else did you interview? Who would, besides the president and besides Elon, who would be your favorite interview? The person that you talked to?
Great question. I think the stars of the book in some ways, and really the stars of the first 6 months, other than the president and his excellent chief of staff and senior staff, I think are Rubio and Bessent. I interviewed them both. They both were very generous with their time, and there's significant quotations from both of them in the book. I think they were both sort of the main players on so many fronts. Bessent obviously not just on negotiating trade deals after the Tariff Liberation Day, but also, he was the quarterback to get the big, beautiful bill over the finish line at the end. And for Rubio, having taken on so many roles, foreign affairs, reorganizing the State Department, also a key player, in dealing with some of the migration crisis, the visa issues, these things that were sort of dominant on the immigration front. I think those two guys, honestly, and I believe this as I sit here today, just after the 6-month mark, have been inspired picks. I think many of his choices have been great. I think those two stand out to me as the key players.
Yeah, for sure. So you now are back on the radio airwaves. What is it? 2 weeks in now? Are you 2 weeks in?
I'm in the second week, and so almost ready to finish my second week. We're on Salem. Oh, but can I go back to the book 1 second?
Yeah.
If you want to order it, you can order it now. You go on Amazon or wherever you buy your books. It comes out November the 18th. But pre-order it. Just type in A Revolution of Common Sense, Scott Jennings, and it'll pop up. There's a picture of Trump on the cover. I asked him if he wanted to pick the photo. So they sent over a photo, and I'm pretty sure he likes it. So you'll see an amazing photo of the president on there. But anyway, if you pre-order it, you'll get it before Christmas. So
yeah, it's a great Christmas present. That's a fantastic one. Yeah. Love it.
Regarding the radio, yes, we're coming into the end of the second week here, and it's going great. We're on 2 to 3 Eastern every day on Salem Radio. That's syndicated nationally on Salem stations. Some places pick it up and replay it at different times, but we're live 2 to 3. I come on after Charlie Kirk and before Hugh Hewitt, who both have excellent radio shows. Mm-hmm. An hour of radio is not a lot. It's really only about 33 minutes of content. And when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, my first job was in a radio station. When I was in college, I was a radio news anchor in Louisville, Kentucky. And so getting back on the radio was a dream come true. So I'm really appreciative of Salem for giving me the chance. We put a lot of work into it. And today, I'm actually a little sad about today's show because Hulk Hogan right before we started this, has passed away.
Oh my gosh.
And as you all may know from my comments here,
news to us.
Childhood hero. So I'll probably lead the show today with news of the Hulkster's death and some comment about what that means to me. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I met him at the convention last summer. He, by the way, gave the greatest convention speech in the history of convention.
Scott, yes. I think that's the number 3. I always tell Mock that they happen in 3s, and it was like Malcolm Jamal Warner and then Ozzy Osbourne and now him. I think that's the 3rd one.
Yeah. It's been a crushing week for some of these.
It has been.
If you think about the 1980s, like those 3 guys you just mentioned were such dominant cultural icons for for a very long period of time, and all had huge followings and loyal fan bases. And so, it's been a crushing week. I had wanted to meet Hulk Hogan for 40 years. And I finally met him last summer at the convention, and I met him with David Axelrod. We went down to the bottom of the arena and met him, and he was he was a little nervous about speaking.
Really?
Trump. Yes. His hand was shaking a little, and I said,
gosh.
I said, "Are you nervous?" And he said, "I've never done politics, brother." And
God bless him.
And I said, "Well, you body slammed Andre the Giant in front of 90,000 people. I think it'll be okay." And he goes out and delivers this amazing speech, and he rips off the shirt. I've never seen a political crowd really that electric over someone other than a presidential candidate. And so I'm glad I finally met him. I told him that I thought about 90% of the conversations I had with my dad were about what happened to him the night before. So if it hadn't been for him, I'm not sure what we would have talked about.
Oh my gosh.
and so I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. But anyway, so for the radio, having a live show, you're kind of constantly, as you all know, reacting to what's going on. And this will be what I'm reacting to today.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, people have been speculating, and I know you've been asked this question before on other shows, but you've got this book, you've got this show, and you do the CNN thing. Does this all lead up to a potential run for office?
Yeah, I haven't made any announcements on that front and don't intend to make any today. I haven't ruled anything in or out.
But when you do, you'll come back, right?
You'll be the first place that I go.
Okay.
Mostly just ask you for money. I'll just be here to raise money from you. But it's on my mind. Not necessarily in the short run, but certainly, at some point in my life. My grandfather was an elected official, and when I was a kid, he was a Democrat. But I just, it's always been around my life, and I revere people who run for office, really of either party. It takes a lot of guts to put your name on a ballot.
Yeah.
Regarding the Kentucky Senate race, it's vital that it remain in Republican hands. Mm-hmm. There are 3 people running. I know them all actually, and I've helped them all at various stages of their careers. And so I'm kind of like every other Republican in Kentucky. I'm watching to see how it unfolds, but don't really have any news to make on that front right now, other than to say, that is a seat that we have to keep in Republican hands. McConnell, he's won 7 times, and it's been a pretty reliable Republican seat, and we need somebody to be in there who can strongly support the president's agenda. That's what we'll be working on in Kentucky next year.
Well, I mean, I will say we need more normal people to be in office. I think that's one of the things that, as bombastic as Trump is, he still represents normal America. He represents real Americans. And so I think it's refreshing to see normal people go and run for office that still want to do it, even though it is such a cutthroat awful place to be. So the fact that you even would consider it would be it's a wonderful thing, because you are a normal guy who is, who has morals and ethics. And so it would be great to have you in politics, because there's not a lot of good normal guys anymore in politics,
Well, I'm honored
So-
by your statements and your confidence. I do think one thing about Trump is that he has inspired people who may not have thought of running before
Right.
to try it out.
Yeah.
He had not run for office before he ran for president. And, you look at him and you look at all the attacks and the slings and arrows he's taken on
Oh my
over time.
gosh. It's brutal.
And so it has been brutal, but in the brutality, there is something inspiring about it, which is, if you get into it and you're willing to absorb the punishment, you can do great things. I mean, you can be part of history. You can make major changes and work on the issues that you care about. And so I do think he's inspired a lot of new Republicans, frankly, to consider something maybe they would not have considered before.
I hope so.
That's true.
I hope so too.
So I have watched you on CNN enough lately to know kind of how you're probably going to answer any discussion about Epstein. Because I know you want, and we do too, we want people to be focusing on Trump's wins, because there are so many. But because the focus seems to be on Epstein, and with some good reason, because we contend that this whole issue has been kind of botched by the White House, and maybe not even Trump himself, but certainly by some members of his team. And it's almost created more like interest and like drama about it. And so how do you think this is ultimately going to resolve? Because now it's like Republicans and Democrats are fighting each other to see who cares about the issue more, when Democrats had 4 years to care about it and they didn't.
Well, let me start where you ended, which is the hypocrisy of the Democrats. They didn't care about this until 5 minutes ago. And just this morning I was on, and a Democrat sparring partner of mine said, it's a cover up, and Trump is hiding the records to cover up for these rich oligarchs and whatever. And I said, well, if it's a cover up today, who was Joe Biden covering up for when he had the records in his custody? And so the hypocrisy of Democrats here, to me, I think everybody sees through it. That's number one. Number two, traditionally in public relations, if you're dealing with a situation like this, you would just do everything you're going to do and do it all at once and be done with it. And now this thing has been kind of a slow, back and forth. And, look, the president has, and what's he done? He told the attorney general to put out anything that was credible. He said, go get the grand jury records, which a federal judge is stopping them from doing at the moment. And then, we get this Wall Street Journal story today, that says his name is in the records. But then if you read 4 or 5 paragraphs down, it says, it's all unverified hearsay.
And we've known his name is in there. I mean, so what?
Right.
We knew they were friends, and we also knew he disowned him when it became clear he was a total creep. Everybody knows this. But I feel like it's being regurgitated like this is some revelation, when it's really not. The Washington Post a few days ago ran a fact check and said, look, if there were anything criminal or wrong about Donald Trump in these records, we're confident we would know about it. So I think
they would have used it years ago. They would have totally used it. Yeah.
I think what they're trying to do, the Democrats here and the media, frankly, are trying to keep this ball bouncing long enough to create a narrative and set the concrete a little bit that somehow Trump was somehow involved in the wrongdoing, in the criminal wrongdoing, even though that's not true, even though he's never been charged, even though there's never been any credible allegation of that. If you can get enough people to believe it, it just sort of becomes part of the political firmament. We've seen this story before. It happened on Russia. Half the country and one entire political party to this day believes Russia stole the 2016 election, even though the Senate report says they didn't change a single vote, even though there's no evidence at all of any collusion between Russia and Donald Trump. There was an effort made to create a narrative that that's what happened. And guess what? It worked, because an entire party believes that. It is an article of faith for Democrats that Russia stole the election, and they're trying to make it so it is an article of faith that Donald Trump got away with some criminal wrongdoing with Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't know how it's going to end. I assume something will eventually come out. There are a lot of people who are curious. I'm curious. I think we're all curious. But my curiosity on this doesn't take away from what I think has been a tremendous 6 months of what I voted for on immigration, on the
Yes.
economy, on, pushing back against the cultural lurch to the left. I mean, on front after front after front, this is what I voted for. And so, do I want more on this other thing? Could we do more on that? Maybe. But in no way, shape, or form does it diminish my enthusiasm. And if you look at the polling, he's not lost a single inch of ground with Republicans since the Epstein thing started. In fact, he's gone up among Republicans. In the Fox poll last night, of everybody who said they disapproved of Trump, only 1% said Epstein was the reason. And of that 1%, it was only Democrats and independents. Not a single Republican disapproved of him on Epstein. So I think also they want to create this idea that Republicans are abandoning Trump. Nothing could be further from the truth. So how it ends, I don't know. And I assume there's a lot of people calling congressional offices demanding answers, which, fine. But obviously something's got to happen over the next few weeks because eventually the House is going to come back into session and votes are going to be taken.
One of the things that we see is, because we watch our comments every morning because we have a really tight-knit community when we do our show. And, we see a lot of just fatigue, general fatigue and like these hearings and stuff like that. And you mentioned the Russia thing. And I think it's like when it comes to the Epstein thing and it comes to the Obama thing and it comes to, listen, I think the people that we talk to every morning, I'd say the biggest percentage of them are totally stoked about all the things that Trump has done, including us. Right. But I think that the thing that they're most disillusioned about is that there is a double standard. There was a double standard back when Biden was president and Democrats were held to a different judicial standard than Republicans were, right? We all saw it. There's a huge double standard. And then now they're like, nothing's going to happen with this Russia stuff because, we see people being called out for it, but then is anything ever going to happen? Because no, they're just so disillusioned with government. So,
and the lack of accountability.
Right. The lack of accountability on the part of, on their side. And so I think that is what people are fatigued by. And I hope that we just want to see one person held accountable, just one little person, maybe just carted off to jail in an orange jumpsuit just for doing something wrong. Because if it were me and I didn't pay my taxes, I would go to jail. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's where normal everyday people are just so pissed off and they're so disillusioned. And I hope that somebody's held accountable for just one of the awful, terrible things that they've done. Because that's what we see, at least.
Yeah, the issue with Russia and what happened as Trump was coming in and Obama was going out. I mean, obviously they referred this matter and all the documents and information over to the Department of Justice. It deserves to be looked into because what is clear is that senior people in our government who were committed Democrats, partisan Democrats, abused their position to convince half the country that Russia had stolen the election. I mean, that's what they wanted people to believe. They worked with the media to do it. I mean, I started with CNN in 2017, I sat night after night after night after night, Russia panel after Russia panel after Russia panel. We covered this nonstop. It was all the media could talk about for the first 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency. And what happened is a narrative took hold that Russia had stolen the election for Trump. And it's not true. It's not what the intelligence assessments have said. But the fact that an entire political party and half the country believes that, I totally agree with you. Why shouldn't there be accountability if people willfully misled the American people and abuse their positions to do that?
Yeah.
That's not right.
It isn't.
And so, and then you fast forward to with Biden, same situation. You had people in the government willfully misleading the American people about the condition of the president. Mm-hmm. Now they're being hauled in. And guess what? They're all taking the Fifth Amendment. Well, there's a reason for that. And today, as we speak, Ron Klain, who was chief of staff in the Biden White House, is being interviewed by the House Oversight Committee. Will there be accountability for that? It seems to me that over time, we find that Democrats, when they have the government, when they have the White House, are very cavalier about abusing their positions to mislead the American people, to change public opinion in a way that just isn't true. Yeah. And so what is the criminality? What kind of accountability can you have for that abuse? We need something. I hear people say the word constitutional crisis all the time. You tell me what the crisis is when people that hold positions of trust willfully mislead the American people and sort of distort our national politics. Seems pretty bad to me.
Right.
And worse than the idea, the narrative that they put out there that Russia interfered with the election, that was bad enough on its own, but it's that they said specifically, repeatedly, that Trump was in on it, that he was part of the collusion, when there is no basis in reality for that. And they can just get away with that is unthinkable to us and our audience.
That's what they wanted people to believe. And if you look at the polling now, I think Rasmussen had a survey the other day. The Democrats, overwhelming number of Democrats believe that Trump and the Russians conspired to steal the 2016 election. It is an article of faith for a Democrat. If you went to a Democrat political dinner right now and you were standing in front of the crowd and someone asked you point blank, did they steal the election? If you don't say yes, you'll be booed out of the room.
Yep.
It is a bedrock article of faith for them that that's what happened. And so it's not good for the country. I mean, frankly, for people who are talking about democracy all the time, what undermines democracy more than to lie to people about how the 2016 election went down, which was Donald Trump shocked the world. He beat Hillary Clinton. Because they were so in shock and needed an excuse for that loss, they invented this lie in order to basically delegitimize the presidency of Donald Trump, which, by the way, for an entire political party, they succeeded.
Yeah. They've just eroded away at people's trust in government. It just is so similar to what they did during COVID and how we feel about public health now. And it's
same thing.
Right. It's a ripple effect, and it has ramifications. It has consequences, and they got to stop doing that. They really do.
Yeah, they believe, there are many people on the left who believe that because they are morally superior, it is within their rights and boundaries to say whatever they need to say to get you to change your behavior, whether that's political behavior or wearing a mask or whatever. I'm morally superior. I know better than you. Therefore, I'm allowed to make up a narrative to get you to alter your behavior in order to make you better in my image, basically, is what they're trying to do. And it's despicable. And so what happens is what you said. Ultimately, it craters trust in institutions, and they don't understand that. But they think it's okay to destroy institutions because, again, I'm moral and you're not.
Yeah.
And to that point,
therefore, the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
And to that point, they keep aligning themselves and defending the indefensible. So they want to, rip down, attack ICE agents. They want to side with all the crazy protesters, the pro-Hamas people on campuses. And it's just like, how are they aligning, and why do they think that that's a good strategy to align with criminals all the time?
Same thing on, you just named two issues where they're doing it. Immigration. I mean, I've heard the words kidnapping on television time and again.
God.
I've heard the word disappearing on television time and again. I've heard very generic tales of American citizens being kidnapped and never heard from again. Completely false. I've heard attacks on ICE agents rhetorically, which then leads to physical attacks on ICE agents. I've heard Democrat members of Congress deny or pretend that they don't know that these attacks are happening. I mean, these things have consequences. And then, it's amazing. We play this game all the time. Go out for 6 or 8 weeks and lie about something and then take a poll and say, gee whiz, why does everybody, hate ICE, or why does everybody hate? Because we lied to them for 8 weeks and we've fed them a line of BS, and now they don't know what to think. And so, we play this game all the time on the campus protesters.
Yeah.
I mean, what we talk about in Western media about what's going on in Israel and Gaza is so distorted and not even within the realm of what's really happening over there. And we've completely and totally brainwashed, especially these kids on college campuses.
Totally.
It's out. It's completely outrageous. Look what's happening right now with the humanitarian aid. There's hundreds of trucks sitting there. The food is rotting because the United Nations will not allow it to be delivered. Imagine hating Israel so much that you'll allow the food to rot just to further the idea or the narrative, the untrue narrative, that Israel is somehow at fault for this. The United Nations and Hamas are essentially partners in starving the Palestinian people. That's what's happening, and it's a travesty.
I'm getting all ragey about it just hearing you talk about it again.
Yeah.
It makes me so angry.
We talk about it a lot, Scott, and we get you, and people on the right are starting to fall into that category where they're like, oh my God, are you being paid by Israel to talk about this? I mean, we get it all the time, and we're like, well, okay, this is just nuts. So a lot of, younger people, I say younger people, millennial age people are falling into that. Even older people are falling into that category where they're starting to fall in line with that way of thinking. We don't get it. We just don't get it.
Understand, this is an easy thing. First thing you should ask yourself is, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys?
Right.
The good guys are Israel. They're the ones who are fighting this terror network. The octopus over in the Middle East, the head of it is Iran, and it has these tentacles. One of the tentacles is Hamas. Another is the Houthi rebels. Another was Hezbollah. But what Israel has done with Donald Trump's help now is start to defeat this terror octopus. And it makes us safer. It makes the region safer. And what's happening as a result? The Abraham Accords are going to be expanded. I mean, we might have a period of peace in the Middle East, unlike we've seen in quite some time, all because Israel had the courage to fight and Donald Trump had the courage to strike Iran when he did. It was a good partnership. They're the good guys. The people who came in and raped and murdered and marauded on October the 7th, they are the bad guys, and people should not forget.
How is this even a question?
I know.
I don't get it.
We don't. Yeah, it's remarkable. It's just remarkable to me how people can be on the other side. I don't get it. And then question us for saying that these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, well, I have been a steadfast supporter of Israel in my commentary on this. I don't know how you look at the events of October the 7th. And I went to Israel. I was there when the war started.
We were going to ask.
That was amazing watching that all happen with you there.
Before the war started, we went around. I went to the Gaza border. I went to the site of the Nova Music Festival. Let me tell you something. The atrocities committed against those kids who were at that music festival, they weren't just murdered. They were brutalized. They were taking young women into a tent and having 35 terrorists do a gang rape on these women. They were forcing their boyfriends to watch. They were mutilating their bodies afterwards, and then they were murdered. That's what Hamas did to these kids. They took some of them hostage. There's still people from that Nova site that are being held hostage right now. I met with one of the hostages' mothers, and 656 days, I think, she's been waiting for her son to come home. And you look at what Hamas is saying today. Well, we want 2,200 Palestinian terrorists taken, released, so we'll give you 10 live hostages. God. They're not serious people. They don't want to release the hostages. They don't want this to be over. They want to continue to be a hub of terrorism until, I think we should just internalize this. They're never going to give up these hostages. I'm at this point, they have rendered themselves totally unserious, and I'm totally fine if Israel ends up just going in and completely and totally finishes the job here, because all they have to do is let those people go, and this can all end.
You're absolutely right.
The fact that they won't ought to tell you everything you need to know about them.
Amen.
You mean you don't believe that it's a genocide? This is
the
the most
population of Gaza has
unbelievable.
gone up in the last 2 years.
Right,
so no, it's
exactly.
not a genocide.
And it would be the worst, like they would be the worst genociders ever given their military capabilities. If they wanted to genocide Gaza, it would be gone already. And yet they send warnings to civilians saying, we're coming in to attack, get out of these areas. They send in humanitarian aid, and all of these ridiculous people calling it a genocide. I can't believe that people have bought that narrative.
And
Israel
they do.
follows all the rules, the rules of war. They follow the rules. Hamas does nothing. I went, when I was in Israel, I'm just going to tell you a graphic story, and I'm sorry if it is upsetting, but people need to hear it. I went to Mount Herzl, which is effectively their Arlington cemetery where the soldiers are buried. And there was I think a 19-year-old soldier. He was killed in the fighting on October the 7th. His body was recovered initially. It had been decapitated. They buried his body without a head. Some weeks later, a military unit went back in and cleared out a building in Gaza, a civilian building. They were in there. They went into a place that had a freezer. They opened the freezer drawer. This soldier's head was in the drawer.
Oh, my God.
The civilians in there intended to sell it on the black market for like $10,000.
Oh, my God.
This is the brutalization that we're dealing with over there. I went to a kibbutz on the Gaza border. I met with the people who had their homes and little farming community invaded on October the 7th, and listened to the tales of the brutalization, the murder, the kidnappings, the actual kidnappings that went on. That's where the Bibas family lived, that mother and the little babies. You cannot go there and talk to the people who experienced it and not come away vibratingly angry that this sort of subhuman barbarism is allowed in the world, and then also to think that there are people who've decided that Hamas is the good guys and Israel is the bad guys.
That Americans have decided that.
What happened on October the 7th? Who came where? What did they do when they got there? The atrocities. No one wants to talk about the sexual atrocities at Nova because it's so barbaric. But I'm convinced if more people knew about it, the outrage would grow. It's hard to say out loud what you heard happen firsthand. But it did happen. And we just, it's barbarism. We got to be able to tell the difference between right and wrong. It's pretty simple for life. And in this case, it'll be a good rule for politics too.
The freaking animals. And I'm glad you're saying it out loud, Scott. I'm glad
it needs to be heard.
It needs to be heard. It does need to be heard. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to majorly switch gears because that was really super depressing. And so now we've asked a number of people this question. It's totally pop culture related, but we want to give you an opportunity to answer it too, because so far we've asked Dave Rubin about it, who is a gay man. We've talked to each other about it. We've heard Megyn Kelly's take on it, but there is a viral clip of J-Lo going around right now from a recent performance of hers. And we want to know from you, a straight, happily married, heterosexual male, if she has crossed a line, if she's too old to be behaving this way, and at what point it becomes cringe versus sexy. So our producer is going to play the clip, and we can just talk about it. So here is this recent performance.
J-Lo performing at a concert.
She's 55, and these are her dancers.
And her extensions.
Her extensions.
Right.
So is this sexy or is this cringe?
She's 55.
55.
Yes.
She's 55.
I mean,
this is why we're asking. This is why we're asking.
Because women are like, ew.
age is just a number. If I'm 55 and I look like I'm 35, maybe I'll have a show in Vegas. I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of a capitalist. If you can pull that off and sell tickets to it, more power to you.
Really? So you're not like get off the stage grandma? You're not like that? You're not okay,
No.
Okay, that's refreshing. Look at Scott.
Because we kind of are. Like
You are?
We're a little bit like get off the stage.
What I had said to Amy Jo about this is that 5 years ago, when she did the halftime performance at the Super Bowl with Shakira, she looks exactly the same. She's not aged a day. And that performance was like super hot.
Yeah.
But this one, I cringed a little bit. I was like, I don't think you can do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because the only time I ever go on the internet is to talk to you two. What? Are you saying people are like going crazy about this on the internet?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think once, like Megyn Kelly's, her take was a lot like mine and ours. It was kind of like, once you hit menopause, it's a little weird, a little cringe, if you will. You know what I mean? You kind of like need to maybe stop grinding with gay dudes on stage, Maybe there's a time and a place and, and maybe rely on your voice.
Okay, so.
And you can look pretty and sexy without grinding.
So I have some recollection that this conversation was had about Madonna not too long ago.
Yeah.
In that case, I agreed because it felt like she had crossed over the line.
What is that line, though? What is it?
I don't think J-Lo I'm just going to tell you. I'm not sure she's gotten there yet. I think she's still working over
like, maybe 56. It may be 56.
We'll see. I'm going to monitor it. I'm going to do like 6-month checkups on it. And
you need to do some serious research.
He's going to do a pulse check.
I'll weigh in.
Pulse check at 55 and a half. He's going to do it again. Just a pulse check.
But you know what? I would love to know what your wife thinks about that. So ask her and report back. I'm very curious.
As soon as we hang up, I'm going to report in and
be like, talk to the chicks about this.
Yes, we need your take on this, but I'll send you a note.
One more thing before we let you go, because I want to respect your time. But who has been the most ridiculous co-panelist as of late? Like in the last couple weeks, who's had the most ridiculous take?
Who's made you rage the most?
Very easy answer. His name is Touré. He only has one name, Touré.
I remember him.
I remember him.
I'm somewhat certain he is supposed to be famous, but I don't know why. So he occasionally comes on. In the last 2 weeks, he revealed that he doesn't actually believe that Donald Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Oh my God.
And we had it out on the air. You can look it up. The clip went a little viral, but I dubbed him the Butler ear truther. And he said, well, we never really got confirmation that his ear was shot, and I wasn't there. How am I supposed to know? Now,
oh my God.
A few months ago, right after Trump took office, he also expressed shock that Donald Trump was giving orders to the military. And I said, well, you know that the president's the commander in chief, right? And he
Of the military.
He looked at me like I had invented the wheel. Like, I mean, it was,
Oh my
he was like, and I said, yeah, in the Constitution, the president's commander in chief. So the next time I saw him, he was telling me that Trump hadn't actually been shot in the ear. So anyway,
Wow.
by far, without question, the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
He's the guy who
I don't know
wins
how
the
you
prize.
do it. I really don't.
Ear truther.
I know. Gosh, an ear truther. That's what we got to start calling him. That's fantastic, Scott.
Remind everybody how to listen to your show on the radio.
Yes, it's Salem Radio. So if you have a Salem station in your market, and they're all over the country, it's if it's airing live, it's 2 to 3 Eastern. Some stations play it back, and then we have other affiliates that are playing it. We also have it on podcast version, so you can go Apple, Spotify, and just type in Scott Jennings Show, and it'll pop up. We have a logo on there that says Scott Jennings Show. And then what I've been doing every day, too, is I take my laptop or a camera into the studio, and I just turn it on, and I live stream everything on X, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you follow me on social media, at 2 o'clock, I just flip the camera on, and not only do you hear me, but you hear all the behind-the-scenes chatter of me talking to the producers and me saying, I can't hear this. What does this button do?
That's the greatest.
So it's a little comical, but it's kind of a behind the scenes feed of the show. And then, of course, book November the 18th, A Revolution of Common Sense. Go on Amazon, type in Revolution of Common Sense, Scott Jennings. It'll pop right up. Order it. Give it to somebody for Christmas. You're going to love it. And I'm really looking forward to getting that out in the fall.
Fantastic. We're so
if
excited
you need
for
guests,
you. Yeah.
we've done radio. We're happy
So,
to guests anytime
before
you
we
want.
go, I do want to, because you all have been so nice to have me on twice now, if you would be so kind as to grace me on the Salem radio show with your presence.
We
I do want to schedule you too. I want to have you on someday soon. We'll comment on the news of the day, and I want to tell people about your excellent Chicks on the Right show and podcast. So if you'll save an afternoon for me, we'll do it.
Absolutely. We would
You
be
name the day.
delighted.